will be reelected. Joining me now, Lanny Davis, former special counsel to President Bill Clinton. Good to have you with us, Lanny.
Great to see you, Lou.
These debt negotiations, do you buy into the August 2nd as a real date certain for automatic default, as Timothy Geithner, ostensibly a serious man and Treasury Secretary, has styled it?
Yes, I think the world's economic markets will, the bond markets will, the American people will, and I think it's a serious issue. Even if we're delayed in paying our interest payments, the world will see it as a default, and it's a serious consequence.
Okay, and so that means we have a couple of weeks in which to negotiate and put through a deal.
Right.
And to do that, this is starting to look almost like a stratagem, Lanny. I know that that's perhaps cynical, if not merely skeptical, but this looks like a very similar stratagem to that employed by this administration when Rahm Emanuel was chief of staff and talked about a crisis as a terrible thing to waste. And it looks like the sort of standard operating procedure for this administration: create emergency, crisis, and ram through something that is unread, unconsidered, and intemperate, perhaps, in its consequence. Am I being cynical?
My good friend Lou, I think you're being a little bit one-sided, but I never think you're cynical. I think you're sincere. But the one-sidedness of your question forgets that it's the Republican Party that refuses to accept any closing of a loophole in order to solve this problem. Any. So the previous Congresswoman talks about no plan, where she is not willing to say no closing of corporate jet tax loopholes. Just that alone, she's not willing to say.
Okay, that's 300. Oh, wait a minute, Lanny. I want to keep track here, because we've got to close. We've got to close about $2.7 trillion.
Of course.
That's $300 million in accelerated depreciation that those who own private jets will have to forego. So now we have $2.670 trillion. Help us out.
Well, I'll help you out by looking at the Simpson-Bowles Commission report that President Obama...
Which President Obama rejected.
That is not true. He just said, let's put it...
It is true. Lou. He could have embraced it and put it forward. He rejected it.
Lou, first of all, in the last several days, he put on the table all the elements of Simpson-Bowles and said...
I missed the conversion. I missed the conversion because I got hung up
what you
on
missed
the fact
is
that
the
he brought
Republicans rejecting his proposal to put it on the table. And going back to your point about corporate jets, I do agree with you that it's a small sum of money, but which way does that cut? That the Republican Party in the House of Representatives is on the short end of an 80-20 poll that says close tax loopholes for the wealthy in order to have a trade-off to cut spending, which I agree with. So why would they oppose that, Lou? And the answer is they don't want to raise taxes. Right. The real answer is they don't want to raise taxes on the wealthy who can afford to pay more taxes in order to do something about this deficit.
Well, let's see. 5% of the taxpayers right now in this country, the top 5% earners, are paying just under 60% of the total taxes. What percent would you like the top 5% to do?
More than that, and I include
so you would like the
myself.
top 5% to pay how much of the total taxes? And so, just get a number. That way we can get this out of the way. You and I can settle this thing right here. They only pay 60% of the total taxes now.
Well, Lou, I'd take them back to the Clinton years, where the tax rate was slightly higher than it is now, where we had a $1 trillion surplus when Bill Clinton left office, and we didn't have
Lanny, those were the halcyon days, and I salute you. I salute President Clinton. I salute
and the taxes were higher
Congress, which supported that effort and made it possible. And now that I've saluted all of you and relived nostalgically history, I would like to embrace the present and the future for generations to come. How are we going to solve this?
Well, we've got to solve it by two parties coming to the table.
Excellent.
And please hear me out.
I didn't know it'd be that easy.
President Obama has, I think, belatedly, and I'm sorry it was belatedly, embraced the Simpson-Bowles concept of Social Security reform, Medicare reform. substantial cuts in spending and tax reform, including closing loopholes, which both Senator Crapo and Senator Coburn from Oklahoma, two very conservative Republicans, endorsed that concept, yet not one House Republican is willing to join those two conservative senators to say, let's do it together.
If we only, can we call them a gang of two as we have to wrap up here? We're over time.
No, there was 60% of the commission.
No,
I
understand.
Of that
I'm just talking about your
endorsed
two conservative senators, Coburn and Crapo.
You and I are the gang of two of rational, reasonable people.
And I want to thank you for being reasonable and rational, and also acknowledging that late conversion that we were both discussing, to the point that got lost in the noise, apparently. We're going to get that straightened out, see if we can build around the Bowles-Simpson plan after all. Lanny,
thank you.
Great to talk with you always. Lanny
Thanks
Davis.
for having me back.